Hello, 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 and welcome. I'm Frank from the City of Games, and it is time to find out what's next from myself, the City of Games, and the continuation of the City of Kings universe. And I am so excited. It has been so long since we've done one of these streams. Thank you everyone for joining. I hope you're all well. It's fantastic to see so many new people in the chat, so many familiar faces as well, and I'm sure we all just want me to get on with it. We want to talk about what's going to happen, but I'm going to give it just a couple of minutes. I know that people like to turn up a few minutes late, so for those of you who are here early, we're going to talk a little bit about some of the things that have happened and some of the lessons that have kind of gone into what I'm going to be talking about today. But firstly, wow, it's a funny moment. I've been designing games for many years now, but my last release was Explore and Draw, which was kind of the evolution of the Isle of Cats that happened through the kind of the lockdowns and COVID because of the pandemic. And this game today that we're going to be talking about is the first completely new, something completely, totally different game that I've talked about for a couple of years. And I could not be more excited that this is the game we're going to be talking about. It means a lot to me. But first, earlier this year, we had the Isle of Cats Kittens and Beasts fulfillment. We had the Kittens and Beasts and Boat Pack expansions release, and, people really enjoyed them. I was overwhelmed by the support, the feedback, the comments that I got, and I'm so glad that I managed to get those to you, and that people from all around the world have been enjoying it. The Isle of Cats has now sold over 200,000 copies, with tens of thousands of each of the expansion. It's in 17 languages, and has also this year released in Target as well, and it's been overwhelming just how much people have been enjoying the game and spreading the word. So thank you so much to everyone who's helped make that possible. And it wasn't just the expansions. We had Explore and Draw release. And Explore and Draw has been, for something that was never planned, this was an organic evolution of trying to allow people to play the Isle of Cats during the lockdown periods. We created this remote edition that evolved into Explore and Draw. And it's been incredible just, at Gen Con this year, seeing people coming over for that game, people enjoying it, people having fun, it making it onto people's top lists of roll and writes. I think Rado recently said it was the best roll and write ever put out there. And, I don't know about that. I am more than happy to take his word for it, but it's just been incredible to see how much that's been enjoyed. So thank you for everyone. And as always, I don't like to take the kind of more corporate business approach to things. I like it to be organic. I don't like paid adverts. I don't like this kind of marketing thing. I just want to be upfront. I want to be honest. And you guys have just it's been amazing, so thank you for that. Just looking through the chat, hello to everyone who's joining. Looking forward to what's coming next. Funny, Isle of Cats is our favourite couple game, and we always joke, what's happening to the cats we can't rescue? There's been many theories, and, I'm looking forward to sharing some of that today. Am I going to Essen? I will be at Essen, yes. I'm not going to have a booth, but I will be there, and I will organise a meetup for people who kind of want to see some things and have us just catch up in a chat. So I'm going to keep up with the chat a little bit, but as we kind of get into the announcement, I'm going to kind of look away from chat, and then we'll come back afterwards, because I want to make sure that everyone's got kind of an opportunity to hear the core announcement without too much interruption. But we've got a few minutes before we get going. So Zach says they're debating on getting Explore and Draw. That's totally fine. You can go to my YouTube channel, you can go to Rado's YouTube channel, or lots of different YouTube channels, and you can download a player sheet and try and play along with the video and have a feel, see if it's something you're going to enjoy. If you are comfortable drawing shapes, if you're going to be traveling, if you want something that's going to be quick and you play with a large group of people, it could be great. If none of those things tick your fancy, then don't worry about it. Maybe it's not the game for you, and that's absolutely fine. I plan on getting the Kittens and Beasts expansion, says Zach. Cool. Well, I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Kristen says they love Explore and Draw to take artifacts with them on big trips. And that is one of the core great things about that game. It's portability, the fact that you can take it traveling and just go to different places with it. It makes it really, really easy to play a similar game to the artifacts whilst not having to take the larger box with you. It's great for travel and solo, Hannah says. Absolutely. Matthias, hello and welcome. Everyone else who's joining, hi. I hope you're all doing well. Veronica says they're looking forward to a new game. Tom says that they love the podcast with Tom Vassell. Well, thank you so much. I really enjoyed that and hope that I'll get to do some more. Look what you and your company do and create. So very intrigued. Love what you and your company do and create. So very intrigued with the next thing. Me too, Kurt. This today is something, well, no one can guess what today is. This is something different. It's probably the hardest game for me to describe out of all the games I've designed because it's not like anything else out there. And that makes it exciting. But, we'll see how easily I manage to portray some of that to you. Carol says that they love Art of Cats and their cats love Art of Cats. So I appreciate that. That's fantastic news. Lots of people saying that they are enjoying the game. Kevin says about being a PAX I can't even pronounce that word, but yes, I'm looking forward to sharing this, and I will be at PAX Unplugged this year as well, so maybe I'll get to see you there, Kevin. Good morning from the Tampa area. We're about to be underwater here, so I'm keeping my cats and the Art of Cats collection close to my kayak. Oh my goodness, Tim, I'm sorry to hear that. I hope that it doesn't hit you too bad. I'm presuming this is to do with one of the hurricanes that I've been hearing about, so I hope that you kind of come out of that okay. The best designed big box of organizers. Samantha, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. I was really proud of that big box and like the way it kind of worked. It's the first time I've ever designed something like that. And, I learned a lot. But overall, I think that it just did really, really well. Patrick says they've just picked up City of Kings and not played it yet, but it looks awesome. Well, I'm glad to hear that. So thank you so much. And as I say, I'm going to try and kind of go into talking for a few minutes now. And then we'll come back into some of this chat because I know people are excited. I know people want to kind of hear about what's going on, but thank you so much to everyone who's here, to everyone who's saying hello. It's fantastic. So we're going to talk in 3 steps. And the first step today, I want to talk about some lessons. So let's go back to the beginning. 5 years ago, the City of Kings, my first game, because all of my games today have been games that I've said, this is something I want to do. This is a game that I kind of have played and I enjoyed it, but it doesn't tick my boxes and I want to create my version, something better. They've all got this puzzly heart to them, but outside that, all of these games are totally, totally different. So I looked back and I took a key lesson from my first 3 games and I've used those lessons to create something new. So this is my first game that really digs into my previous games, pulls out some of the things that I loved and tries to do something with it that I'm in love with this game so much, so much. So the City of Kings, a big cooperative adventure puzzle game. There is so much to this game, but one of the things that I really, really enjoyed about it was the social puzzle solving side of it. So you get these big giant creatures. This isn't a game where you're going out and killing hundreds of things. You get 1, 2 creatures at a time, and each of them gives you this challenge. And at the table, you sit there with the other players and you try to work out, how do we overcome this? You talk, you discuss. Well, maybe you take this here. It's going to do this damage to you. It's then going to push you back 2 spaces. So it's going to turn around to me. It's then going to hit me with fire. I can then move out the way next turn, absorb that fire, reuse it onto this creature. And then you turn around and say, yeah, but I can't do this because I need to be in this position. If that happens, then I won't be able to do this. And it created these moments of like just tenseness, where you're banging your heads against the table as a team, but then the excitement, the joy when you overcame and you succeeded was something that I really just didn't realize how much I was going to enjoy. So I wanted to bring out this social element, this puzzle solving, working together concept, and create something that was designed to like simulate that behavior from the City of Kings in a new game. But then came along something very, very different. The Doran Gardens, the little game that could. This is a game that proves a lot of things to me. But one of those things is that from just a small deck of cards, you can create a game that is so much more mentally taxing than you would expect. Through restrictions, through placements, you put these cards in front of you and you build up this pathway. Now, I really, really love the Doran Gardens. I love these cards. I love the system of trying to build these paths. But again, I learned a lot from the game. And one of the things that became interesting to me was this concept of restrictions, because there are many ways to restrict players. You can restrict them through a game design mechanism, and you can restrict them through choices. So what I mean by that is in the Doran Gardens, you're only allowed to have 5 rows in height, and that is just a rule. That's a restriction placed by the game. And that's fine. It works for the game, but it's interesting the difference on how people feel about that restriction versus, hey, I really want to place a green card, but there aren't any available. Because at that point, the restriction doesn't come down to it's just written in a rule. The restriction comes down to the options the game is currently providing you through inbuilt mechanisms. And that kind of difference is something that I've been exploring a lot. How do you create something that has fun restrictions? How do you design a game that has the restrictions that you can't just do anything you want, but they're not written into the rules? Those restrictions are created by the gameplay, by the state. So the further you go into the game, the more you self-restrict yourself. I really loved the card system in this game. I really love that concept of kind of organic versus like pre-written restrictions. And it's something I wanted to explore more. So, finally, another little game that some of you may have heard of, the Isle of Cats. And, believe it or not, there's a lot of different things I've learned from this game. A lot of people have played it over the years. But today, the lesson I want to talk about is around the polyominoes themselves, the tile placements, the cat tiles that you're placing onto your boat. Because there are lots of polyomino games out there, but I really love the idea of how would you turn this polyomino game into a cooperative game? How do you move away from everyone's taking pieces and putting them onto their own boat? And how do you move them to a shared board where everyone's placing them together? That was something that really excited me. So I started thinking about what are the cool things with polyominoes? And one of them is that people hate to leave gaps. You know, when you're putting those pieces onto your boat, people want it to be perfect. They want to fill up every single corner. And if they've got a 1x1 square left over, it drives them mad. And they want to move stuff that's not efficient, is not going to give them the most points possible, because they want to fit in every one of those squares. And I always find this really peculiar. So for me, what I wanted to do is I wanted to push that even more. I wanted to drive the crazy into people and create a game where you can't fit in all those spaces, to really push them against the line and say, hey, in this game, it's going to be much, much harder, and thematically tie that into the game, which we'll get to in a short while. But the other side of this was a lot of polyomino games. You have very simple shapes. You know, you've got kind of 4 squares and it's kind of like a T shape or a rectangle or an L. And with the Isle of Cats, I explored pushing it into harder shapes, more complex shapes. And this is one of the things I think people really enjoyed, because having the shapes they don't understand and they're not familiar with made the decisions tougher. So again, I wanted to push that further. And what happens if you make a game that only has the horrible pieces? What happens if you get rid of all of the nice shapes, all of the things that help you fit in spaces, and you just chuck a big pile of horrible, horrible shapes at people and see what happens? So these were the lessons I learned from these 3 games. And this is what I pulled together to create something new. Now, obviously, so far we've spent a few minutes talking about mechanical lessons. We've talked about gameplay, we've talked about decisions, we've talked about all of the things you're doing and some of the things that I want to achieve. But with all good games comes a story. And I'm aware that not everyone is familiar with the story from the Isle of Cats, so before we move in to the big announcement, we're going to take a step back just a few days to a story that some of you may have heard before, but then we're going to move into something a bit different, a bit unexpected, but then hey, who expected us to be rescuing cats from a boat? So, there's an evil lord called Vesh. And Vesh and his armies are marching across the land. Their mission to take over everything, to destroy all that is in front of them at any cost. But as the armies march forward, the resources start to dry up. They need new ammunition. They need to fix their weapons, their armors, and they look for new sources. And then an ancient scroll is discovered that tells them about this fantasy island that everyone thought was a myth. It turns out that the Isle of Cats is a real place, and Vesh orders his armies off to the island. Now, we all know that Vesh is heading there to destroy the army and the island and doesn't care about what is there. But the heroes of the land hear of this story, and they can't let these creatures be lost. So, an operation of rescuing cats begins, and the heroes from all around the lands leave from Squall's End. They head to the island, they get their baskets, they get their fish, and they start exploring. Over 5 days, they rescue as many cats as they can. And some people take treasures, but we won't talk about those. And once they've got those cats, they get back to their boats. And as the war drums of Vesh start to get closer, they flee from the island. This is a story that some of us have played out. But what we don't happen to know is what's next. So, let's take a step back. Let's move away from Vesh and the heroes and talk about the real characters of the story. You find yourself sitting upon a hill, looking out across the ocean, and all around you, these noises start to get louder. They're not like those that came before. The last noises were friendly, they were caring, they were scary, but they seemed to be there for good reasons. But these noises, they're loud, they're drumming, they're monsters. The fear is setting in all around. As you look out across the water, smoke starts to fill the skies. And you realise, as the last sails fade away into the distance, that you have been left behind. Now, rumour has it that there is one small raft that's been left on the other end of the island, and there is only one thing left for us to do. And it's time to race to the raft. Race to the Raft is a 1 to 4 player cooperative social puzzle game where you and your friends are going to be playing the roles of the cats that were left behind. You are going to be racing across the island by laying tiles, building paths and avoiding fire as you try and get to the other side. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the mechanisms and some of the gameplay for how this is going to play in just a minute. But what I do want to say is that I'm not going to tell you absolutely everything today. I'm not going to try and teach you the game right now. That's going to come in the days to come. But of course, this is the box for Race to the Raft, and I am so excited to finally get this out there. The funny thing about this is this game has been ready for a long time. I nearly released this before the Kittens and Beasts expansions, but I wanted to wrap that story up before we moved on to this. So, let's take a look at some of the key concepts and mechanisms of what we're going to be doing in this game and how it plays. But again, remember, this isn't the full game. So for example, there is a board that represents the island, but for what we're doing today, we're just going to ignore some of those parts and talk about the core gameplay. So, the first thing you're going to do when you play this game is you are going to pick up a scenario. Now, scenarios in this game, they aren't like big stories. There's no kind of narrative to each individual story, because each scenario is just going to be get these cats and rescue them and save them. But what they are going to do is they're going to give you different challenges. They're going to give you different puzzles, and you're going to start with a tutorial that's going to slowly layer on that difficulty. So if you're familiar with the Isle of Cats, the starting point of Race to the Raft is going to be similar to difficulty of the family mode of the Isle of Cats. But as you play through the game, you're going to get into an advanced mode, you're going to get into more and more difficulty, and it's up to you where you want to stop and how far you want to push. The important thing to keep in mind with this is there are 81 scenarios in the game. So as a 40 to 60 minute game, if you want to play through all of the tutorials and all of the different scenarios, you're going to have to play at least 81 times on the basis that you manage to beat them all first time. Now, this is designed so that when you pick it up as a cooperative game, each time you're going to do something different. And as I say, there's a modular board. So not only is each of these scenarios going to be different, but each time you play the same one, the choices are going to be slightly different as well. So I'm sure at this point we're thinking, what are we doing? How does this play? And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to grab some cards. So as a team, we're going to set up a scenario and we're going to have a think about how are we going to achieve this? We've got some cats. We need to get them somewhere. What cards do we want? And then we're going to choose some cards. So each player is going to take 3 cards from the selections available. You've got 4 different types of cards you can choose, but for the purposes of this, you're going to get some cards and you're going to have them in your hand. And these cards are going to be made up of a 3x3 grid, 9 squares, and those squares are going to contain different types of terrain. So the ones on the screen now at the moment, you can see there's a lot of green at the top. So there's a big grass area with a dragon, and then a small piece of water below with an island. You'll see that we've also got the orange sands and the red forests, and there's also one other colour, the purple ruins, which we'll find in just a minute. The important thing about this is that each player will have 3 cards in their hand that they would have selected, but no other player is going to know what their cards are. This game is all about each player has their own information, and as a team you need to discuss and work out who's going next, who's got the best option, who thinks that they can do something great and they should step forward. And as soon as that person chooses and steps forward and says, hey, I'm going to take a turn, because there's no turn order. It's up to you to choose your turn order. As soon as they step forward and they have been nominated, no one is allowed to speak whilst they play their card. So from the moment it's revealed to the public, it is on them to place it and put it down. This means that this game takes phases between heavy discussion of what are we going to do and how are we going to do it, and then silent moments when each player does their individual actions. This means that you are always going to get the turn of independence and making your own thoughtful decision, but you're also going to get this teamwork of how do we overcome this? And it will bounce back and forwards, because as soon as that card is placed, someone's going to turn around and go, hey, actually, I wasn't thinking you were doing that. I thought you were going to do this. And then the plan is going to change and it's going to adapt. So as you play cards, you're going to be building up pathways. Now, let me show you what this might look like. As you progress through the game, more and more cards are going to be placed down, and you'll see that they can overlap, they can rotate. There is no restrictions as long as they overlap, as long as they fit within the grid and they don't go outside of the board, because again, there is a board behind this. You can put them wherever you like, and you want to build up terrains of the same type. So you can see just here above me, we've kind of got this blue area, there's a large green area, and so on. Because each of our cats, cats are funny things, aren't they? Nice and fussy. So let's bring in the cats. You may recognize some of these guys from previous days, but our orange cat, only wants to walk across the orange sands. Our purple cat only wants to go through the purple ruins. The green cat across the green grass, the red cat through the red forest, and the blue cat has taken up swimming and will only travel through the blue waters. So each of our 5 cats will only move along the terrain type that you have got for it. Meaning that as you're trying to get your cats from their start location to your destination, you need to build up specific pathways for each of the cats. They're going to overlap, there's going to be obstacles in the way. As you progress, there's going to be more and more challenges that are going to layer on the complexity of how these cards go. So you're probably thinking, sounds pretty easy, right? Gonna get some cards, we're gonna overlap stuff, and we're gonna build up these pathways for our cats to walk across. And at this point, it's not too bad. There's just one little challenge left. And some of you may remember from what I said earlier and be able to predict what this is gonna be. We have got the fire. Because the island is on fire and fire is spreading across, and if fire gets in our way, it's going to block off paths. Now, fire in this game, every time you place fire, it has to touch existing fire, so it's going to give you this thematic feel of fire spreading across the island. And of course, fire, how does it come onto the board? How do we get it? Well, every time you place a card onto the board, you're going to get the fire bag, you're going to put your hand in, and you're taking out a horrible, horrible polyomino shape that will represent the fire, and you'll be placing these over the cards that you've just placed. Meaning, as you build up your pathway of cards, you're then going to be layering on pathways of fire, which you're going to want to try and segment to keep them away from where you're trying to get to, but equally, those shapes are not going to make your life easy. And again, the fire, it's down to the person whose current turn it is to play it. So you can discuss as a team where you think fire should go, but as soon as they put their hand in that bag and they take out that tile, it is on them to decide where it's going to go. So there is one last thing we need to talk about, because this gives you the core concepts. You know, you've got your cats, you're building your pathways are being blocked off by fire, you're trying to overcome your scenarios, but you're probably wondering, when am I going to see the rest of it? When am I going to learn more? And of course, how am I going to get it? So I think at this point, it's important to say that Race to the Raft is going to be on Kickstarter on the 18th of October, 3 weeks today, and the Race to the Raft will be available. And I can't wait. Over the next 21 days, I am going to be doing daily updates, releasing artwork, releasing rules, talking about game design decisions. There will be videos, playthroughs, the rulebook, and of course a few surprises along the way. But this game will be available in exactly 3 weeks from when this stream went live. And if you'd be interested and you want to come across and find it, I'm going to put the Kickstarter preview page right now. So bear with me, I am just going to put it live. We're activating the page. I will be able to share you the link in just 1 second. So, if you want to find out when it goes live, here is the link in the chat. You can click along, you can find the Kickstarter page, you can hit that notify me button, and this Kickstarter will be here in exactly 3 weeks' time. So, I'm going to start jumping back to the chat. I'm going to see if there's any questions. I'm going to see if anyone would like to know anything. And of course, we're going to take a few minutes just to chill. So please share the word. I'm going to scroll back up and I'm going to kind of take questions from where we are now. So I can see there is a good question that says, what about the Oshacks, Jennifer? That is a fantastic question. So let me take us back to this screen, because the Oshacks, just like in the Isle of Cats, are a wild cat, and they don't care about colours. They enjoy all sorts of terrains, but the Oshacks are part of the advanced mode. So you will see on some of the cards, like this one just here, there are also white pathways. These are the roads that go around the island, and the Oshacks will only go along those paths. They can go over any terrain, but you have to build up those additional pathways in addition to the colour pathways for the Oshacks to travel across. Now, This is really hard. They are not easy, and that is why they come into the advanced mode. But the Oshacks are there, and they are just as fussy and beautiful and helpful as they are in the base game of the Isle of Cats. That's my birthday. Cool, Jard. That's absolutely great. I hope you have a good birthday, and hopefully you'll be able to join me for then. I wish there were cards to flip over for the file tiles instead of big giant tiles banging against each other in a bag. Jeff, I mean, the polyominoes are a really great system for the game. The actual original design for the game did have cards, but those cards just didn't work very well. And polyominoes have worked fantastically for the Isle of Cats, and they offer a really fantastic solution for this game. It works so much better than cards. Obviously, you have to trust me on that, but it is absolutely the solution to this system and provides a really, really cool concept. When do you plan for it to deliver? That's something which we'll be talking about in the next few weeks. I'm not going to put the details out about pricing or exact timelines today, but it will be, you know, obviously within 12 months of the Kickstarter, and ideally much quicker than that. What do the goal scenarios look like? So, Jonathan, the scenarios are basically in a book, and they give you a diagram that says place boards like this. They say place these starting cards here, place these destination cards here, and then there's a line of text if there's any specific rules or objectives for that scenario. So they're not some big kind of fancy visual thing. They're very much a book that you can work through. Now, they're set into groups of 8, and you will get scores. So as you go through them, you'll get scores based on your performance, and then you'll get a score for that campaign. So obviously if you complete it perfectly, then you're going to get all the points. If you make mistakes or have slip-ups, which again we'll talk about further down the line, then some of those points will come out, giving you a reason to try and push yourself and take extra risks to try and get those top marks. Will you be doing a neoprene mat for this as an upgrade? Liam, I won't be at the moment. That's not something I'm planning to do, mainly because, well, you'll see when some of the board stuff comes out, but the board is modular, made up of a bunch of different pieces. It's not just one mat that everything sits on. The board is actually part of the game and another element of the mechanisms that make the game work. So it just doesn't make sense for it to be a neoprene mat. But again, obviously it's not public yet, so I can understand why that might not be easy to kind of visualize at this point. I would love an RPG based on Vesh in the City of Kings universe, but I'm thrilled with what you're doing. Tom, maybe one day. I'm not hugely kind of experienced with the designing of RPG stuff, so it's not something that I'm personally considering doing, but maybe one day I'll team up with someone. I definitely want to kind of continue to progress the story and the narrative around some of this stuff. Can every scenario always be one, or can you get unlucky with the fire tiles and drawn? Jono, they can all always be one. I mean, this is one of those things where they've all been beaten. There's always, every time I've seen people lose, I can look at it very clearly and see where those errors were made. But it is a game where as you play through it, the difficulty is going to increase. And it's clearly marked. So the scenarios have difficulty ratings. So if you're a group of people that want something simple and easy, then the low difficulty ones are going to be fantastic. They're going to be very replayable, going to be very enjoyable to play with children and also less experienced gamers. Some people who just don't want a headache. If you're someone who played the City of Kings and you want like the hardest, most challenging, complex things that you can imagine, those are in there too. Now, of course, it does make it very, very challenging, and a lot of people will perceive those as not beatable, but you'll discover as you play through the game that there's always decisions you make, and it's going to be up to you and those choices on how things kind of play out. Zach says, what's the benefit of backing a Kickstarter versus buying it in retail? Zach, there will be plenty of benefits to that. I will start talking about that as I reveal more information coming forward, but there will be additional content for Kickstarter backers that won't be in retail, just like with all of my Kickstarters, and they are going to be things that I think people will be interested in. So I'll put that out and we'll talk about that kind of in the coming days. Tim says, not a co-op fan, but I am interested by the mechanism you explained to help alleviate alpha gamer and encourage individual decisions. We'll have to add this onto my collection. Well, Tim, I really, really appreciate that. There is actually a review video or preview video that I've asked someone to do for me. I won't talk about the details yet, but they are actually, there's someone who doesn't like co-op games. So I asked them to do this knowing that they don't like co-op games, because I feel like there is something so different with this game compared to the standard co-op systems. And once we've seen that video, we'll find out what they think. I mean, obviously, I might be horribly wrong and it might be a disaster from my end, but that is a risk that I kind of went forward with, and hopefully something that you'll kind of find the same once you've watched that video as well. We will be able to pick up some of your past games in a future Pledge Manager. Millie, this is something I am still trying to work out. It's very much going to depend on stock in various locations, but there will be kind of solutions, which again, I will talk about further down the line. Will the tiles have new art? Everything you've seen here is the final artwork. I mean, I'm very happy with how the art is in this game. If this isn't an art style that you like, then perhaps it's not going to be a game for you. But everything you're going to see from here on out is final artwork, and nothing is going to change. The game design is finished, the rulebook is done, the artwork is done. We are good to go. Morton says, I'm guessing links are off in chat, so no links visible, but you can find... Oh, okay. I thought the links I put in should have come through. But yes, I will post them into all of the Facebook groups and everything shortly. So apologies if my links aren't coming through into the chat. I'll paste it again just in case. But Morton, thank you for that. The board will be modular. Yes, Hannah. Thank you for clarifying that. Someone saying they missed the link. So again, as soon as the stream's over, I'll start posting it into all the Facebook groups and stuff that are part of the City of Games. Please do share. Obviously, we need to get as many people to be aware of this as possible. We've got just 3 weeks, so the more we can get this out there, the more we can share, the bigger and better we can make this campaign for everyone. I joined late. Anything about City of Kings? Ruben, you'll have to go back and watch the kind of start of the video for kind of talking about that, but there is nothing new for that. Today, all I've done is announced a new game, no content for existing stuff. What is the size of the box? Hannah, again, this is something that we'll kind of put out and talk about in the days to come, but it's not a big giant box. It's more of your traditional size box. Obviously, that's kind of up to you to decide what you mean by that, but we'll put out some more details down the line. City of Kings Kickstarters are the best campaigns I've been a part of. Always to join. Jano, thank you. I'm always looking forward to just running more campaigns and doing what I can for people. Elizabeth says, where will the daily announcements be shared? So it'll be a combination between on my website, thecityofgames.com, on the Race to Raft page on Board Game Geek, across Twitter and Facebook. So the best thing you can do is join the Race to the Raft Facebook group. And if you search for Race to the Raft on Facebook, go into that group, you will be able to find all of the updates posted in there on a daily basis. If anyone knows how to do a Kickstarter right, it's Frank. Well, thank you, Kristen. I really appreciate that. Will there be a solo mode? Yes, this game is fully playable solo. I'm really happy with the solo mode. Of course, in the solo mode, you lose the kind of the social aspect of the game and the discussion, but you do get your own kind of work it out puzzle kind of game, which is obviously a different experience, but as a solo player, hopefully something that you will enjoy. Cat figurines, I beg you to do this. We've got the wooden meeples at the moment. There's no plans to kind of do anything else, but we'll see what people say. Tom says, I need to figure out how to afford this. I love your work, but I'm also out of work right now, so it'll be a challenge. I'm sorry to hear that. I hope you manage to find something soon and that it doesn't become too much of a burden for you. One good thing for anyone who's an American right now is the Great British Pound is plummeting beyond all belief. So if you are based in the US or you back Kickstarters in US dollars, you're going to get a massive discount compared to normal times just because of how much that value has gone down. So hopefully that works out great for you guys. It's awful for me, but wonderful for you. Plushies, maybe one day in the future. It's not something yet that I'm kind of planning, but we'll see. You never know what's going to happen. When do you plan the Kickstarter to deliver? Again, something that we will kind of talk about further down the line. It'll be within 12 months, but it will take the kind of a full standard length. If you go back and look at my last Kickstarters and see how long they took, it'll be roughly the similar kind of amount of time. Do you get the pins from the last Kickstarter? Yes, so the pins will also be available in the as add-ons in the Pledge Manager. So that is something I can definitely confirm. I didn't get the overall goal of the game, move the cats to an exit. Absolutely. So there'll be a start location and an end location for each of the cats, and you will need to move all of the cats from wherever they start across the board to the destination. Those things aren't shown on the picture at the moment. These are kind of, I guess this is more of a generalization of the core concepts, but we'll be talking about kind of the specifics of how that stuff works moving forward. So let's jump back to this picture for anyone who is joining late. Hello and welcome. Just want to say, great to see an update from you. It looks like a game that will be easy to take with you when traveling. We're often on the road to family in Holland. It's a nice package game. It's great to see. Yes, so I mean, this is a game that, you know, it's still going to be in your kind of standard size box, but it's not going to be like a massive, overwhelmingly huge box with 81 scenarios in there. There's lots and lots of replayability, and it's a really, really quick game to set up and play. Setup time of this game is only 2 or 3 minutes. Grab like 2 to 4 boards, put them on the table, shuffle 4 decks of cards, put 8 cards out, and you are good to go. It's a very quick game to get out, set up, pack away, and it takes 40 to 62 minutes to play. So it's not a long game, which means that you can often get through multiple sessions in one evening or one day. And there have been days where I've sat down and played 10 to 15 games in a day and still had fun and still not wanted to finish by the end. So obviously I'm biased, but it definitely ticks a lot of boxes. Just to clarify, I adore the Isle of Cats art. I'm just listening and unable to watch consistently. I thought there were cat tiles as well, and that's why I asked about the art. No worries at all. So yeah, there are no cat tiles. There are the cat meeples. There are then the card tiles. There's the boards, and then there are the fire polyominoes that go on top. But there's no other kind of real artwork other than kind of the more standard graphic design that you might expect on some of these elements. What happens to the cats that are left behind in this game? Well, in this game, it's pretty black and white, Kevin. You either get all the cats to safety, or you reset and start again and get all the cats to safety, or you reset and start again and get all the cats to safety. Because obviously, if you didn't save the cats, then you're not going to just move on to the next scenario, right? You're going to go back and save them all this time. There's no one left behind anymore. If anyone else has got any, it looks like they catch on fire. I mean, that's up to you to decide. I reset, start again, go back, rescue the cats. We're all good. So if anyone's got any other last questions, then feel free to chuck them in. Otherwise, I am going to start wrapping up. We're going to start sending out the links, spreading that around, and making sure people are aware of this, because this is... I love this game. It's a game that has been something that I've wanted to share for a long time. I feel like the experience of it is truly, truly unique. There is so much I've learned in the last years from all of my games that have come into this to make it something really, really special. And I can't wait to share that with you guys. So, as I say, check out the Race to the Raft Facebook group. You're going to see all of the updates in there. Follow along on the Kickstarter page, and I'll add it into the comments and post it everywhere as soon as I hang up. But otherwise, I'm going to hang up. I'm going to get going. I'm going to start spreading the word, sharing the news of Race to the Raft, because this is something that I'm so excited, so excited to be talking about. Yana and Kumar are doing wonderful, Linda. Thank you so much. They are, again, part of the team behind this game. They were our safety consultants for this one to make sure that no cats were harmed. But they are doing wonderful as always, so thank you. The box art, I am a big fan of the box art for this game. It goes back to the more traditional Doran Gardens City of Kings box art that I did prior to the Isle of Cats, and I'm really glad with how it turned up. Thank you for the stream. It's my pleasure. Do we get to rescue the beast next? No beasts in this one, just cats. So guys, thank you so very much. I hope wherever you are in the world, you have a fantastic morning, a great afternoon, a wonderful evening, or good night to you. Until next time, keep on adventuring.